growth tools on the radio, helping you understand the blocks you have in your life to being happy, with a wide variety of guests to help you better understand the problems you're having in your own life. Whether you're depressed, poverty-stricken, suffering ill health, or confused about how to take the next step, discover products, services, and information that will enable you to grow with grace and address issues that are preventing you from happiness, health, or abundance. Go to spiritualgrowthtools.co.uk and find out what's holding you back.
Hello everyone, you are listening to Spiritual Growth Tools on the radio, where we discuss spiritual growth, what that means, and how it can help you to move forward through the blocks that you have to health and happiness. I'm your host, Caroline Nettle, and today's guest is Simon Paul Sutton, aka Simon on the Sofa. Welcome, Simon.
Welcome, Caroline.
Thank you so much. So his signature is from burglar to Buddha, and he now helps others live a transparent, authentic lifestyle. And I'm so excited to talk to you about that today because it's one of my favorite subjects. So we're going to talk about transformation and how we help others and so on. And I've watched your interviews on YouTube and stuff, and you interview some really inspiring people. So let's start off, Simon. I think one of the best things to do is introduce you to my listeners. So do you want to tell your story, well, basically from burglar to Buddha? I mean, that would be an interesting one.
Burglar to Buddha, in the nutshell. Hello, Caroline's listeners. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Yes, it's always lovely. I get asked to tell that story, and each time I share it, takes on its own little different essence. I mean, ultimately, burglar to Buddha sort of does what it says on the tin. You know, it's like I was a professional burglar, whatever a professional burglar means. I mean, ultimately, it means stealing a lot of other people's things. I was a gold thief for a number of years until I ended up in jail at a young age for theft. I was in jail at 18. I did remand centre for 2 months. Luckily, I only had a 4-month sentence because I was sentenced from a magistrate's court. Previous to that, I did have a sentence in Crown Court, but luckily it was my first offence, criminal offence, recorded, and I got probation and community service. So really, those sort of few years from 16 to 19, because even when I came out of jail, it wasn't all as if like you come out of jail and you're rectified and rehabilitated. Feels like you've been away for a long time, even just 2 months in a cell for 20 hours a day. You're in this little cell with another person. It feels like you've been in there, for me anyway, it felt like I've been in there for years, you know. And when you come back, it's only been a few months and nothing has changed on the outside. So obviously, I just got straight back into the crime circles and the gangs that I was in. So really, I made a choice at 18 when I come out of jail, nearly my 19th birthday, and I just said, I don't want to go back and I've got to make a change. I didn't really know what to do. But ultimately, I needed something that was going to propel me and drive me. And again, looking back in hindsight, I also didn't know really what that was going to be. But the thing that arose for me one day when I was at home smoking a marijuana reefer, if you want to call it, spliff on the sofa. I was watching Home and Away. This is my staple little bit of the story, my little realization or transformation point. You know, you could say point one was I decided that I'd become an actor because what I was watching was really quite poor. I was like, man, I was extremely stoned, and I was like, wow, man, it's like, am I really watching this? This is really bad TV. I can't believe this is on. So I must be able to do that. I must be able to act as good as these guys, and you know, be paid to act and be a professional actor. And this really sparked the drive for me. You know, it's my passion then to become a famous actor. I had my vision set on billboards, and again, back then I didn't understand anything to do with affirmations, visualizations, you know, power of our thoughts or anything. I'll lead you up to that. But ultimately, I just needed an out, and I was in pretty much a real thick of it. I mean, so much so, I'd say the darkest it got was actually driving my own car, would you believe, to do a drive-by shooting with a friend of mine at the time. And we were going to potentially shoot a guy that we didn't even know, but based on them telling us, or the people that we hung out with, you know, just not liking this person for again, looking back, just deep unconscious pain body, no real reason other than internal conflict that individuals have. We were potentially going to shoot this guy, and luckily he didn't turn up. So that was the sort of, I was very much in those 3 years, and not trying to make it paint really bad. There were people doing a hell of a lot worse than me, but I was very much in a very unconscious state. So that acting, that desire to act after jail, thankfully having a short sentence, that desire to act really was a driving force. So nothing's as easy as that, Through that realization, I realized that I was deeply entrenched in a lot of I was an addict to a lot of things, and ultimately I was addicted to fear, I was addicted to crime, I was addicted to the rituals of taking drugs, ecstasy, cocaine, night clubbing. I was really in the thick of it, and even moving out of it, I'm writing at the moment the book of this story, and even looking back, you're like, wow, the depths of the subtle addiction and habitual conditioned programs that we instill and that are instilled in us by others, by just the collective, by society, by education and so on, are deeply engraved. So anyway, after 12 years, just bringing you lovely listeners a little bit further ahead, after 12 years, you could say that I pretty much realised my dream. I managed to get into a theatre school. I managed to get out of crime over a period of time, managed to kick smoking drugs, drinking alcohol, stopped eating, studied, worked on my body, become a personal trainer, become an actor, starred in some films, made some films, starred in television with Sir David Jason at the time, from Only Fools and Horses, who some of you might know. Well, funnily enough, I was watching him on telly for many years. Then I was actually doing a little a pilot TV program with him, which was really a milestone in my transformation, because it gave me a realization that what I was truly believing was manifesting. And then catapult you up to 2007, where I thought, I was in this big budget movie. I was paid what did I get, 60,000 euros to do this lead role in a big budget movie. I was 9 months filming over peaks of mountains, depths of caves. I was being picked up, travelled around, and you could say I was on the billboards. I was in 300 cinemas. I was on the sides of buses, my character. So even again, that thought back when I was 18 of I wanted to be on billboards and stuff, that manifested as well. So I was like, wow, it's like this is happening. I'm going to be this famous Johnny Depp, Brad Pitt character. I'm going to be an A-list actor, because that's where I was really rooting for. And then in 2007, I met this beautiful woman who was my partner, my journey partner for 6 years, and I fell in love. And at the time I fell in love with her. She was like a catalyst for a huge awakening. Based on, I'm not just saying it's her, but based on this, what I'm about to tell you, is at the time I've been reading positive books, I've been thinking positively, I've been writing journals, I've been trying to be I was trying to be an entrepreneur, I've invested in some properties. I was trying to be rich and famous, trying to be recognised, trying to become this, this person, that I wanted to be. And then I met Anna, and at the same time I've been questioning what I was really doing, and was this really my mission? And basically just, you could say, a good slap around the face from the universe, maybe a kick up the bum, and maybe a bit more shaking happened, and I fell in love. And basically, when I say I fell in love, because I'd had previous partners that I was experiencing love with, or from an intimate perspective, but basically I fell in love with myself deeply, and then fell in love with the whole planet. And at the time, I didn't know if I was just experiencing the honeymoon period or just in love with Anna, and I was having this sort of experience, but she wasn't having the exact same experience. In fact, she was quite overwhelmed by what I was experiencing. All I can describe it as, and again, is just a deep, deep shift in awareness. My eyes just changed. I'd taken a lot of drugs. I wasn't taking drugs at the time. I understood altered states of consciousness. But I really started to just see and see the world. I was seeing just the wow. I still see it now. Just the depths of what we're a part of. It's like I was breathing and just feeling every single breath I was taking. I was seeing things. I was seeing the sky, the colours, the blue, the oxygen. oxygen, the trees, the nature. I mean, I was seeing the interconnectedness of everything, and then I was really like overwhelmed. Like, wow, I was seeing for example, little things like, just the details, the finer details of what I was experiencing. It's like time almost stopped, and the next sort of 6 months were just, off the scale. The first month, say 2 months, was really, it was a bit overwhelming. Like, I was like, what's happening to me? I didn't want to act anymore. I realized that I wasn't living my truth. I mean, like, loads of things unfolded. So much so that I went on a mission, basically, and I said to myself, well, what has happened to me? What is truth and what is love? And as I say that to you all now, as I'm talking to you, and I've told this story, and again, it's never come out like this, in this way, and I'm tingling. My body's just tingling as I said that, and basically, I had to go on a mission of truth. It's maybe many people have this. Many people ask, what is life? Many people go on a truth-seeking mission, and you guys listening to this, you're probably either on it, you've heard it before, you might see, certain different people share their story, and ultimately, it's a very unique experience for everyone. But there is this, almost this, you can't even always name it, but there's this like essence of truth. I know truth is a loaded word, but just this essence of who we really are and what we're really a part of, and how deeply, we are a manifesto of our own reality, and we're a grand creator of this beautiful life experience. We are a individual part of, micro, macro, and that which goes on within goes on without, and that all the way up until even this awareness, I was creating from that place. And as you are listening right now, think it and you become it, and we're constantly all doing that. So then what happened when I asked, what is truth and what is love? I was like, wow, if I want to know what truth and love is, I need to know where I'm not experiencing truth and love within myself, so where am I not aligned within myself? And that was the real boom. That's really where transparent communication birthed, because I was like, I have to unveil all the lies that I've lived. And it was like, I just started picking them out. I was like, oh my God, my relationships, I've been lying in all of them. Cheated on every girlfriend I've ever been with. Cheated on people just by the way I'm talking to them, not listening to people. My integrity was out of alignment. I was upholding things that I didn't believe in, from the film industry and society and the food I was eating and the governments I was a part of, and the tax. And I uncovered a lot. I started digesting documentaries, diving into the law, Magna Carta. I was diving into everything, and that really, took me into some serious existential breakdowns for a number of years. I got quite a little bit depressed, a little bit ill. I was like feeling this self-love, and then thinking, oh my God, there's a hell of a lot of pain and suffering, and then I sort of headed them to that face on, and then, I've just continued really bringing you up to where we are now so we can continue the dialogue, but then I just became an ambassador of love, really just, inviting people to ask what is true, what is love for them, and to just enter into this ocean of magnificence where we are co-creators of reality, and we can co-create the reality we want, and more importantly, shift the way that we birth a new experience for the next generation. So that's sort of a nutshell, Caroline.
Wow, I was just like, wow, that's one hell of a story. And it was just bringing to mind when I'm a recovering alcoholic myself, and I'm 7 years sober now, and when I went into recovery, they said, well, talk about honesty. And I said, I'm one of the most honest people I've ever met. and I did all these exercises, like write down little things like all men should. And then you write down all men should take out the trash, all men should wash the car, all men should, blah, blah, blah. And those are the belief systems. And then you look at your parents' beliefs and you think, oh, I've totally, completely and utterly swallowed my parents' belief. And my parents, like your parents probably, lived through the war, and times were really, really tough. And, abundance wasn't a word in there, or showing your emotions or anything like that. So it was really interesting to me to really unpick, well, what do I believe? And then you're left with this great big, oh my God, who am I really? Because we invest so much, don't we? I'm an actor. I was in corporate. I was really successful sales and marketing person, and I took all my self-worth from how much respect I got for doing my job. And it's interesting when you leave, it took me a good few years, I have to say, to actually think, well, I'm quite funny and I'm a decent friend, and but it really was a tough lesson for me to unpick myself from that, that corporate coat, if you like.
Yes.
And say what's underneath. So I'm fascinated with what you're talking about, and let's just talk a little bit about what is transparent to you then.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I just want to say for the people listening as well, and I also want to congratulate you on being 7 years clean as well. So I just want to acknowledge that. It's an amazing. My auntie is still an alcoholic. I haven't spoken to her for a number of years, and I'm potentially, unless she's changed now, I haven't heard, but from her children, because I'm not in massive contact with them, but I'm pretty certain she's going to die an alcoholic, So if she hasn't, she might already be dead for all I know. But I'm pretty certain she's not, because I would have thought Daniel or one of the children would have contacted me. But big hug and big acknowledgement to you and anybody else listening out there, because ultimately these veils that we uphold, and I just want to just throw one thing in there, and then I'll answer your question, which is, I realised when I was in the film industry and walking on the red carpet and I'd just done this big movie, and I was like, okay, this is a reality that I can now step into. This is another identity that I've put on, as you just beautifully described. I realised that there was some real life heroes needed in the real life movie. And that, that might sound all great and lovely, but I'm being deadly serious here. That anybody listening to this, you are a real life hero if you choose to be in the real life movie. You have a role in the real life movie. That's not no positive coaching, trying to make you feel good. I'm being deadly serious. Yeah. There is a serious call out for humanity and individuals in humanity to just awaken to what they are a part of, because you're upholding society whether you like it or not. Like Caroline just said, you're going into these works that you don't like, you're having the relationships that you don't like, you're 98% of the population are caring about things that do not matter, right? It's like, we need to get that engraved and clear, and I say that not with any anger, but just to hopefully, if you hear the tone of my voice, from a place of please let that resonate with you, whoever listens to this call, because it is not about waiting for government to do it. They ain't going to do it. It's not about waiting for some, God to come down and save us. We're in the golden age. This is it. The infinite possibility and abundance is here right now, and you just got to step into it and receive it, And this is vital. So when we're talking about drug addicts or, alcoholics or anybody else that's caught in their own addiction, that can be addiction to food, addiction to dysfunctional relationships, addiction to anything. Ultimately, that's what I see that I had to move beyond. So, that's the mission. So if I bring that into Caroline's lovely question of what is transparency. Transparency is communicating and expressing that which you're withholding, but not from a place of where you just turn up and start telling everybody what you think and feel. It's all about self-trust and self-love. You cannot communicate your truth until you fully love yourself. And you cannot fully love yourself until you're willing to communicate your truth. And they simultaneously go hand in hand. This is my realization anyway. This is why I now share transparent communication. Because love, if you want to call love, you can call love truth if you want. Whatever. You can call it an energy, you can call it a source, you can call it whatever you want. But ultimately, when you're truly loving who you are, like every cell in your body, the acknowledgement of every single ancestor that has ever lived, every single human being that has ever lived, and everything that has had to happen the way it happened for you to be alive today. When you deeply embrace that gratitude of the magnitude of what you're a part of, you not only fall in love with yourself, but you strip away all the shit. You strip away all the shit. The shit don't serve you. It can't serve in that. It's like it's like trying to hold on. It's like you being completely covered in lubricant. If you want to be called sexual lubricant, let it be sexual lubricant or oil, and then being brought to a glass window. Vertical glass window, and then trying to hold on. Yeah, it's like if you want to picture that image. Yeah, shit can't stick to the truth. It's like it just can't. You feel it, it cuts through it, carves through it. It's like going through the muscle straight. It's like going through the fat, straight to the muscle. It's like getting to the root. That's what transparency is about. It's about self-trust. It's about stepping into the miracle that you are, owning your divinity, owning who you are, and then emanating a language from that place. And if that's silence, that's silence. But every single cell is emanating from that space. That sort of is a little bit about what transparency is about for me.
And I just want to echo back to you with, the word truth. I found that so difficult when I hated myself, and there was a lot of self-hatred. And I think most people that have to drink to get through the day, or take drugs to get through the day, or manage their image so much to get through all these people don't love themselves entirely. But truth can be really painful. It can be really uplifting. It can be really edifying.
Yeah.
But actually, those three words that I've just used, I think, are the reception of the ego's perception of what I want you to think I am. So I have I listened to, when I was really in my black phase, one of the women that really inspired me back then was Caroline Myss. We say Mice, M-Y-S-S.
A lot of people I've met, it's M-Y-S-S, yeah?
Yeah, however it says, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But she was in the darkness, there was this one voice that was going, forget the bullshit, just find out who you are. And who you are is amazing, exactly what you just said. And I listened to her because back in those days she had a few videos streaming, and she was like, listen, I had a teacher who said to me, never quote to me what my truth is today, because from yesterday to today I might have learned something and my truth might have changed.
Yeah.
And that really impacted me, because I was like, actually there's a lot of Sagittarius in me, so I'm always learning. I love quests for intelligence. I love trying to really understand the big questions. It's part of why I love doing this radio show, because I get to speak to really phenomenal people. But I think the truth is definitely an immutable subject, and it's also something that perhaps I don't need to know what the truth is. Perhaps I need to feel what the truth is.
Love that.
Yeah. So I've been working on getting back into my body and really feeling this life through my body. And God, I had a lot of resistance to that. I can tell you that for nothing. But actually, because I'm incredibly psychic, I love to be able to say that now, yay. So if I'm standing in front of someone and my energy goes funny, I know that perhaps I don't really need to be standing there talking to them, And it's taken me so long to be able to feel that. But one thing I'd love to encourage the listeners to do is really listen to that little, whatever it is, flutter in your stomach, or the intuition that you get around people. Should I take this direction or that direction? Because I think the truth is inside all of us. We just need to remember or forget what we know in order to find it.
Yeah, let's take a deep breath in on that one.
Yeah.
We can, the thing is at this stage, where we are in evolution right now, is, there's a lot of people, a lot of information, a lot of people talking different things and different ideas and different truths. So even for your listeners, people that listen to my show, and people I meet, and I coach people and work well. I say coaching. I use the term uncoaching, which is the same term as a guy called Cute Blackson uses as well, because it's what you just said. It's how to actually unlearn. None of us need coaching, life coaching, and all that other jazz. Ultimately, what we need is just be told, and is that you're already enough, you're magnificent. Your default state is gratitude. You're a magnificent being, full stop. But you've been told and attached a load of things onto you that's made you think that you're not, right? It's like that ultimately, like you just said, with the body, with all this numbing down, the unworthiness, the blame, the shame, the guilt, It's why sex, it's why truth, it's why death is all taboo, because we're not even allowed to enter into those realms of where the truth lies, Transparency takes you, Caroline, straight into your sexuality when you went over the layers, It's like you just beautifully articulated. It is layers, Somebody who's deeply today caught in their pain body, caught in their fear. And again, I use the term pain body, but let's just call it whatever. The wound, the fear, the anxiety, the conflict, the aggression, the self-doubt, the not believing in the self, the rage. All of these things, and it's not to say they're bad, it's just pointing out that aspect of ourselves, that energy field that it runs through us. And when people are deeply entrenched in that, and I work with people on this level, is that, it's a stage, it's a stepping stone. As I said, I'm 37 years old. It was 2007, 7 years ago when I had a big shift. And then prior to that, I was doing a lot of work on myself, positive thinking, being an actor, trying to give up drugs, I told myself for 2 years I was not going to smoke marijuana. And then a girlfriend at the time, she said to me every Monday, "Why are you moaning again on Monday?" She's like, "Why are you moaning?" I'm like, "What do you mean moaning?" She goes, "All you've done all day is moan and you smoked all weekend." It's like, well, why did you smoke? I get high all weekend. It takes me to Wednesday before I'm really even partially, I wouldn't even say clear-headed, but partially able to what am I doing? What am I getting on with, Because you're either on the come down from the ecstasy or your nose and head's hazy, you've been snorting cocaine, whatever. So I'm not saying to somebody today that they can just, actually, let me retract that. You have the power to literally let go of everything that's not serving you right this instant. And some people proclaim they can do that for you with different techniques and so on. However, ultimately, you're the only one that's going to do it. You are the healer. Anybody that's out there telling you that they're a healer, ultimately only pointing you back to your own healing. They're only, even I know people that do different modalities of healing. Ultimately, until the individual is ready to do or move whatever they want to move, you could be holding your hands over somebody for 50 days, It's like, hold your hands there all day long going, come on, man, it's going to happen. It's like, yeah, when they're ready to make it happen.
And I had a really interesting conversation with someone about that. So I am a healer, so thank you for dishing my income. No, I'm kidding. But she said, I was talking to this woman, and she said to me, "What's your frustration, Caroline?" I said, "Well, I tell these people, all you've got to do is this, and this. Nice and simple. Drink more water, go to bed earlier. Not rocket science." And then they come back in a couple of weeks and they say, "Well, how's it going?" They're like, "No, I didn't do it." And that would really piss me off. Of course, my ego would get really annoyed. And she said, "Well, maybe they're not going to get it this lifetime, Caroline." And that helped me so much, because it's like, it takes the responsibility away from me and being a chronic codependent in recovery. I was like, you come to me for healing, I have to get you well. And of course now I'm just like, listen, I do the very best I can with the help of spirit or, whatever. And you are responsible. But what I love about what I do is that actually people start going on a diet on their own, because it seems to help people to make their own decisions, which I think is much more gratifying than, like you say, trying to do it for everybody. Because it's exhausting. At the end,
but it's a great point you bring up. I mean, it's a powerful point, because, we are at a time when, I was speaking to somebody about this morning. I went to yoga, and, she said to me, it's often people say, "What do you do?" It's like, well, ultimately, it's quite interesting, because, still in the monetary world, you had Charles Eisenstein on, he's one of my, I'm passionate about Charles Eisenstein, and you're also bringing Polly Higgins on, which I love. Yeah. I mean, these are two huge pioneers, I would say, in our evolving humanity of birthing new ways of being. But ultimately, when you start looking at money, the monetary system, the system that we built on fear. Now, what I realised from my journey is I realised how much fear I was living in and addicted. But the fear that we're living in and addicted is still here now. So even though I'm not a criminal anymore, it's still out there. Like, it's still rife. It's for everyone. So from that place, it's like when you say, well, what are you doing? Well, it's like, how do you really? You can't market love. You can't, you charge people to tell them they're a miracle and they don't need anything. You know what I mean, Caroline? It's like, ultimately, it's like, I do charge for this so I can pay my bills and survive in this society. But, it's there for you. It's all there for you. Everything, like you just said, Caroline, is in you. If anything, we're facilitators that are just holding that space for that to happen, right? For them to consider it, really. That's what I feel. Yeah. Healing is given that, like you said, you're calling on spirit, calling on whatever forces that you want to call on, but you're bringing that energy, that sacred space to you, so that you can then just be or this is how I view it, I call it myself like a truthful mirror, truthful reflection, as truthful as I can be for them. So that's talking to me, sharing with me, and all I'm trying to do is be as clean mirrored as possible and just share back what they're communicating so that they can hear themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And the way I like to phrase it is just tweaking their perception. Because if you think, like, let's go back to just over 7 years ago, I hated me, I hated you, I hated the world, I hated God, I hated the planet, that was the words that ran through my rock. Today, I'm still the same person, and it's still the same. Well, it's a different God now. It's the same planet, and you're the same. But I'm just wide open to love, and because somebody stood there for long enough whilst I yelled and screamed and was crying like a lunatic, and just held me so that I could tweak my own perception. Because, like you said, So I just, I'm super grateful for the people that held me back then when I was crumbling to pieces, and that's inspired me to want to help other people. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and what you said there again, I'm tingling. Yeah, the hairs are on end. What you just said. Yeah, because it's like people say to me sometimes, oh, you're an amazing actor. Why don't you act anymore? You're not making any money. You're not making as much money as you would from acting. Like, well, why don't you do this? Or you were great at this. Sometimes, this is a conversation that people have had. And the thing is when you fall in love with yourself and then you fall in love with the planet simultaneously, you're not actually then in control of what you do, because the only thing that you can do is it's no different really than when anything that somebody feels is great. Like when I used to take ecstasy originally, I found out the love drug. Of course, you want to tell people, oh my God, you got to try this, oh my God, you're gonna love it. Oh, look at us, oh, it feels good, doesn't it? You're buzzing and you get present and you're high and you're like, oh, it's so nice and touch is so different, and you're in this state of supposed elation, ecstasy. Why is it called ecstasy? Right? So you're supposedly experiencing this altered state of consciousness, which you are to some degree. However, it's short-lived. You've got to pay for it. You might potentially die. You might become dehydrated from it, etc., etc., etc. So you're releasing the endorphins. You're connecting to the oxytocin, which is naturally in you anyway. And then once you start to have it naturally, it's like, wow, what do you want to do? You can only do what you just beautifully said. Somebody held you, you want to hold them. You want to share the love. You want to spread the goodness. You want to, and not from an unconscious place. You also said something lovely, Caroline. You said you screaming and shouting and so on. Yeah, you want to hold people in their anger. They're deaf to the past. They're deaf to their identity. They're deaf to all the crap that we've had to endure as a collective. You want to be there for them and go, you know what? I'm with you. Yeah, you're not alone. And I think that becomes your mission. You call it mission of service, call it what you want, but ultimately you do that. And it doesn't mean you have to become an author, doesn't mean to say you have to do events, workshops, doesn't have to listen, people are doing this, Caroline, I know you get this. People are doing this that we don't know about. They're not in the magazines, they're not out there proclaiming to be some spiritual guru. There's people out there, silent warriors, doing this stuff much more than me or you or anybody else. Yeah. And they're not even looking for no, accolade or Facebook like. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. I do.
That's what I'm talking about.
And the thing is, I don't want to be rude about the acting profession, and Lord knows I'm very good at saying the wrong thing, so I hope this comes out in a way that, but if you're in love with yourself, how can you act? Because acting is all about being somebody else. And when when you really, really accept who you are and the greatness and the magnificence of this connection that you have to source and the power that you have, and I'm not talking about the male kind of power, I'm talking about this wisdom that comes with being who you are. Why would you want to play somebody else? Because I think that's the ultimate, isn't it, in not wanting to be somebody else almost.
Yeah. So what you said is let's just unpack that a little bit, because it's a great point. Okay, so doesn't mean that nobody who loves themselves isn't acting.
No.
Meaning that there might be beautiful people out there that are making a film that's spreading love. It's like it's not that. But actually, let's take it out of the film industry. Let's forget the film industry, because that just is what it is. It's a stage, it's a theatre, it goes on. But what you're speaking to, I feel, is the acting that we all do. This is everyone listening today. This is what I mean by the real life stage. All the world's a stage. Shakespeare said it best. It's like all the world's a stage. You're acting anyway. I think you said something earlier, but look at it in any way you want. But give me a stopwatch and a little collared top and a pair of tracksuit bottoms. I'm a personal trainer. You know,
Yeah.
give me a white top and a couch and a towel, and I'm a monsieur. You know,
Yeah.
give me a suit and a briefcase, and I'll go and talk to you about investing into property. Yeah. So the point is that we're all acting anyway. So what I'm pointing to from a transparent perspective is, I think what you're pointing to here with the acting as well, is not whether you. Yeah, it's more like, why do you want to uphold the act, the mask, the facade, once you connect to who you really are? And you can't. So yeah, it's from that place that you can communicate, but you see clearly what's actually happening. Because ultimately, it's all being made up. We're all manifesting it through our thoughts, through our collective thoughts, and what's happening, and through our beliefs and our behaviours, etc. So when we take back and claim back that power, it's not hard to see when you think of Charles Eisenstein when he talks about a new story of the people, or anybody else that are thinking about birthing new communities and new ways of being and coming together. It's not actually that difficult to see. It's just waiting for the collective to actually also see it, and then it moves at a much faster pace. But yeah, so I don't know if that sort of just clarifies, because I don't want to take away that anyone that is acting out there is not necessarily connected to the magnificence of life.
No.
However, it's sort of it probably is a 90% of people that are trying to become actors are just caught in that me ego identification of, I need to be seen, recognised, and want to be famous.
Yeah, and the intransparency, is that a word? I don't know. I've just made it up. Of that lust for fame, fortune, and I'll be universally accepted. And then you look at some of the actors who've achieved that, and they spend their entire life behind huge walls because they don't want the public, anywhere near them. So to me, it's and I wrote a little booklet, I suppose I would call it, called "Where's My Man?" And it's like one of the chapters is like, so I'm sitting here and I've had my boobs done and my teeth done and my hair fixed, and I've had a facelift, but I want my man to fall in love with me for who I am. And it's like, well, who are you if you've changed yourself so beyond recognition? And I just for me it's not that I feel sorry for those people, but I just know how much they're hurting inside because they're not accepting who they are.
Yeah, well, again, the beautiful thing for me from that perspective is like, look at the mirror that we're being shown. I think the beautiful thing that if we really stop and open our eyes and truly take a moment, breathe, whether you meditate or not is irrelevant. It's not that you need to, just meditation is life. When your eyes fully open, all of life is a meditation. That's the beauty of it. And Caroline mentioned earlier about diet and other things that you can do. It's not because you have to do them to become spiritually connected or anything like that. You're born as it's like, are you not spiritual when you're born, but you are spiritual when you've had Eckhart Tolle's Power Now? It's like you're just a divine being, full stop. It's like whatever. Read another 50 books if you want. You're still a divine being, right? It's like you're a unique miracle. I mean, ultimately, even if you look at science, they don't really know how the human species is even here, or how it existed, or how it even emerged. So it's like you are no doubt a miracle, and there's never going to be another expression like you, as you, that we know of. So I mean, just those little things of how to, I eat beautiful food and that doesn't harm the planet and doesn't cause any ethical problems the best I can. I do yoga, I exercise, I listen to beautiful music, I look in the eyes of others for long amounts of time and soul gaze. I slow things down, I speak truth in every way. Ultimately, when you make a decision to stop lying and start loving, and if you just from today just say, right, just today I'm just going to stop lying and just see what it brings up for you, just see how that changes your life. Your life will change dramatically. But it's not about like you have to be like me or like Caroline or like anyone else you listen to. You just got to be like you, whatever that means for you, because you draw on the well of wisdom that Caroline was speaking about a moment ago, and then you just start to be the architect of your reality and contribute and create in whichever way you want. So it's really key. You don't have to become a vegan if you don't want to. You don't have to become vegetarian if you don't want. It's not about saying what you should do. It's about connecting to self-trust and self-love, and then making your decisions from there, not from the reactive mode of fear. you know, and that really changes things, you know. It's like that changes your life anyway.
It does.
I don't know, I'm waffling now, but you know.
No, not at all. I think what you've got has got some real credence to it, and I love that you just said that. And for me, I can see that we're coming up to time. Excuse me.
Wow, we said we were going to run out. We said we might have something to talk about. Wonderful woman.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just want to express how much easier my life is today. Lying and keeping up those appearances and being in so much hate was exhausting. And I didn't know that. I thought I was absolutely fine. 7 years later, I'm sitting here going, life is a lot better. I've got no drama in my life. I don't have to tell lies to anyone. I don't have to be anyone because I'm already who I am. And it's a work in progress. I'm not perfect. a few more years of, looking into myself. But, life is so much more rewarding because I'm not trying so hard. Does that make sense?
Well, it makes total sense. And also, I would say to forget this, sometimes we say this thing, don't we, which we do, sometimes we say, like you just said, oh, I'm not perfect. That's sort of become a little bit of a thing that, maybe people like ourselves that are putting ourselves out there in this way, speakers, whatever, healers, coaches, whatever, just people that are willing to speak like you are. And we say, oh, I'm not perfect, as if like that sort of, I don't know, that comes from me from a little bit of that, like, no, you are, you're goddamn perfect, job done, that's it, right? You're perfect in your imperfection, there is nothing not perfect about you, job done, there you go. And how you are born, created and things, you are divine manifestation of life, that's it, and it's almost like step into that. That's where I'm at with the power of our thought. It's like, how can we really up a level and harness all of who we are, not even put ourselves down, and I'm not saying you was there, Caroline, but not even putting a little bit of tarnish on that which we are, and not from an ego out of line place, from like, look, this is me, this is my expression of life, this is my sovereignty, this is who I am, and I'm going to step into that and share that for others, and it's going to be fully integrated and aligned, and not bypassing stuff and not trying to cover up a load of stuff, and being able to express who I really am in any given moment, like you said, And you mentioned something, I'm just going to throw this in there very quickly. Transparent communication covers a number of different things, and I'm currently putting you could say a little bit of a manual together for this, but just, it's all stuff that we all know, and many people and prophets and visionaries and wise people have shared this stuff along the way, we're all just messengers reiterating it, sharing it in our way so that, it reaches anybody. That's what I always say to people as well, listening, you're a messenger. Everyone listening today, Caroline, is a messenger. How they decide to share, they might share this show. They might go, hey, you want to love Caroline's show? Check out Caroline's show. She's an amazing woman. She's done this. She overcome alcoholism. She's going out to Botswana and planting 1 million trees. I mean, she's a magnificent woman, right? Why don't you go and check her out? Great. You've already planted a seed. There you go. You're a messenger. You're no different than me and Caroline, So it's like, from that place, when I come back to transparent communications, you cover a number of points, and first of all, it's your story. You have to look at your story and let go, like Caroline has, like I have, let go of your story that's holding you back from who you really are. Then you look at drama and how drama shows up in your life and how it's functioning and what it means and where it stems from. Then you look at the lies that you're telling in yourself, as within, as without. Then you start looking at the inner communication you have and the outer communication from the pain. What's speaking, your pain or your truth? Are you reacting from fear or coming from a place of peace and integrity? So you start looking at those aspects. Then you go into like listening, deep listening. Listening is really key. Full body listening. And then from that you move down into self-love and an authentic communication. And you see, like, once you start to even observe those aspects of yourself, then you start to transform from within and then free yourself from that place and then live from that, that more harmonized, free place, basically.
Simon, that's amazing. I'm really sorry we're running out of time.
Rock and roll.
You're so welcome. I would happily have you on for another hour to just talk about that last 3.5 sentences that you just said, because I think that's a whole subject in itself. I'm sorry to interrupt you, really, but can you tell the listeners how they can get hold of you very succinctly, please?
Yes, just simononthesofa.com. There's hundreds of conversations I've done similar to Caroline's doing as a free avenue for you guys to enjoy. Beautiful conversations, transparent conversations, and simonpaulsutton.com is my website. And, you just go on a hunt from there, find me on Facebook, go on, you just, hunt me down. If you really want to look at some of the stuff I'm doing, just Google my name and see where the journey takes you.
I am so thrilled to have had you on today, Simon. I highly recommend to everybody that they go and look him up because he's just had some phenomenal people on his so far. So for now, I'm going to have to say thank you so much, and we're at the end of the show. Take care.
Take care. Lots of love. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Spiritual Growth Tools live on the radio. For more information, go to spiritualgrowthtools.co.uk.